Coming up on the Mike's Mets podcast, I'm going to go into the Mets' comeback victory over the Kansas City Royals last night and what's going on with Michael Kay and his beef with Juan Soto. Let's talk about it. Roll the music. All right. Welcome to Mike's Mets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pashota. Hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend. I woke up today feeling terrible, but I decided I wanted to do this podcast anyway because there's a lot to go into last night, and specifically everything that was going on with Michael Kay this week and Juan Soto and their whole beef, and let's talk about all that. But first, we're going to talk baseball today, specifically last night's game against the Kansas City Royals. And let me tell you, if you didn't watch this game, you missed out on some prime, grade A, certified organic, maybe baseball weirdness, comeback podcast ingredients, everything that you needed, drama, some questionable coaching decisions as always, a returning hero, and of course the existential dread of being a Mets fan, because let's be honest, being a Mets fan, it's not for the faint of heart. It is a roller coaster, folks, a twisty, turny, occasionally vomit-inducing roller coaster. And if anybody knows me personally, they know I hate roller coasters. I will not go on a roller coaster, even if you pay me. So you can kind of glean how much I hate what's been going on these last couple of weeks, because it has just been one roller coaster after another. And it looked like another typical low-scoring effort from the Mets, bad performance from our beleaguered bullpen, all that jazz. And then the seventh inning, it looked like it was going to go poorly again. Royals scratched out a couple of runs, courtesy of a Bobby Witt 2-run homer off of Huascar Brazoban in the seventh. Brazoban continues his descent. What was a terrific start to the season has become mired in a lot of inconsistent performances from Brazoban as of late, and it's really not his fault. I think he's just tired at this point. He's been asked to do a lot, pitching multi-inning performances, and that bullpen's just stretched in terms of how much they were being asked to do with all these bullpen games that they were being required to pitch. The starting rotation kind of in shambles at the moment due to all the injuries, and it's been a problem. So 2-run home run off of Brazoban, and at that point, if you're a Mets fan, going back to our existential dread, you're probably doing that sad, resigned sigh. You know that one, and the here we go again sigh, the why do I put myself through this sigh, all that stuff. And then the eighth inning happened, and this is where it gets spicy because the Mets are down 3-1, and they finally woke up. Singles, walks, another walk, bases loaded, no one out. Pete Alonso up, and it sets up an interesting scenario because the Royals bring in Carlos Estevez, and Mets fans might remember Estevez very fondly because Estevez was one of the architects of the Phillies' collapse in the postseason, giving up the go-ahead grand slam to Francisco Lindor in the NLDS. That was an incredible moment. And what do you know? We have another man up with bases loaded, home run hitter, guy who's usually used to doing this, Pete Alonso, the polar bear, guy who hits bombs. This is his moment, right? This is a grand slam to take the lead, right? What happens? He strikes out on 3 pitches. It was really ugly. Alonso broke his bat afterwards. He looked really disgusted with himself, and it's been a great year for Pete. It's a year where he definitely has earned whatever's coming for him in the offseason, because he's having a first half that we haven't seen from Pete in a few years, I would say since 2022. But this was just a complete whiff. This is like the kind of at bat that makes you want to throw your remote through the TV. I was just disgusted, and as much as Pete was, I was disgusted. And in my mind, as a Mets fan, and if you're a Mets fan, you're thinking, okay, this is it. This is where the rally actually dies. This is where we go quietly into the night, the Kansas City night, another L for the record books, another situation where the offense couldn't pick up some quality pitching for the most part, and once again, nothing's going right for them. They're leaving men on base. They're not getting runners in scoring position. And then the universe, baseball gods, whoever you want to really give the credit to, they decided to throw a curveball. Actually, in this case, it might have been a changeup. It was up steps Mark Vientos, filling in for, gasp, an injured Jesse Winker? He's hurt again? Yes, he's hurt again. This is what happens. It's seemingly every 3 days somebody goes down on the IL for the Mets. They are bleeding personnel. And we just got Winker back. We just got him back. He's once again back on the IL with some back tightness, whatever that means. And it's been a tough grow for Winker, who I really like. I really enjoy Winker a lot. He has just been plagued with injuries this entire season, and they really need him to come back correct sooner rather than later. But let's get back to the action. Sets up Mark Vientos. Vientos has been abysmal this season. I think he's my vote for the most disappointing player of the 2025 season for the New York Mets. Even more so than Francisco Alvarez, who had to be sent down to the minor leagues to figure out his stuff. Mark Vientos is just in a colossal slump, and he can't seem to get his mind right. And I think, and I made this point with my brother on last week's podcast. Please check that out. This was a situation where Vientos needed to come through in order just to clear his headspace and get his mind right and feel confident for once. And I feel like he does raw on confidence. He's a guy who is led by momentum, and he kind of lets his emotions flow through him, and that can be, I think, damaging, and especially in Vientos' case, might not be particularly helpful for him. But in this situation, he came through, rips a 3-run double to right center field, clears the bases. Juan Soto comes in just ahead of a throw to clear the bases, give the Mets 3 runs. Mets are up 4-3. A cathartic hit. I love saying cathartic. Cathartic hit. You can feel the collective exhale all the way from Queens and all the way out to my apartment. And the Mets, they loved it. After the game, doing the swag on 3 chant. That was a really special moment. This is a great clubhouse. A really great clubhouse. They as mired and as they are in some inconsistent performances and struggles and problems with health, they are a remarkably upbeat group, and they are, I think, really feed off of each other. And there's some pure unadulterated love there, but also pure unadulterated swagger from Vientos, who needed to come through right there, and he did. Terrific, excellent, all done right. Nope, they're not done. Mets run on momentum. Once they get the momentum, sometimes emphasize on sometimes they just keep it rolling. And in the 9th inning, Francisco Lindor, who was quietly having a pretty solid night, comes through and hits a 3-run home run, 19th home run of the season. He just hits the Royals very well for his entire career. He, of course, came up with Cleveland and was doing some terrific work there. And he's very familiar with the Royals, very familiar with Kauffman Stadium, and just owns those guys. And then, because why not, Juan Soto, who we're going to get into a little bit later also, Juan Soto immediately follows up with his own solo home run, 22nd of the season for Soto. Opposite field, didn't look like it had the distance at first. It looked like this was going to be a fly out, but some wind carrying out there, and just kind of took it 410 feet for Soto to the opposite field. Not easy to do. He is so strong, and just a laser beam. And 6th time the Mets have gone back-to-back this season, I believe. So they are now up 8-3. They would bring in Davinsky to close out the 9th inning. He would get Bobby Witt Jr. out, and the Mets steal one. They absolutely stole one. That was a stunner of a comeback from them, even more so than their comeback in Baltimore. This is exactly what they needed. I'm not going to say cathartic again, but the psychological aspect of this game, that's where it goes deep. This is therapy for sports fans and therapy for a sports team, because that Pete Alonso strikeout, that could have crushed them. That was a huge moment where Pete just really fumbled the ball. And I'm not going to criticize Pete too much because he's been terrific all season, but that was a moment that a lesser team, a team that's been struggling, they would have folded. Vientos coming in, there's a really good chance, because it's been happening all year, that he would have struck out, flown out, popped out, whatever he would have made, but he would have been made out. And he stepped up. And the Lindor and Soto home runs in the ninth inning, that's the sign of a team that even when they're down, even when they've been sloppy, they still have that in them, that ability to punch back. And Alonso's been talking about that for a little while also, about them finishing games. They need to finish those games. They need to finish them properly. They need to give some offensive support. The bullpen needs to come through. And last night they finished it with a bang. It was great to see. Great performances from, once again, the top of the lineup, but also the bottom of the lineup actually came through in key moments. They were getting on base. They were coming up with base hits. Crucially, the Royals pitching staff was terrible in this game. They walked 8 batters, I believe. That's a free base runner basically every inning. What was this? They were giving up obviously the home runs, but this was the Royals pitchers just giving them opportunities left and right. It was just walk after walk after walk, and so big ups to the Mets for showing the patience and the play discipline to allow the Royals to just keep screwing themselves over in that case. On the pitching side, the big story for the Mets was Kodai Senga, and I haven't mentioned Senga at this point, but Senga back. Well, thank God. After that hamstring strain, he comes back. Very strict pitch limit. They didn't want to overwork him. 4 innings, all scoreless. He was fantastic. Only allowed 4 hits, 2 walks. There's still clearly some rust there, but looked sharp. The ghost work doing its thing. He worked out of jams. He drops the ERA down even further, down to 1.39. They really needed him to be back here. They needed a stopper. They needed a guy who could throw 4 strong innings, and he did it. He is the real deal. The Mets really needed him. Even with the bullpen hookup with Brazoban, they were able to hold it together for an additional 5 innings. So really sharp stuff from the Mets pitching staff. There was also that weird replay moment in the 7th inning where the Royals and Tyler Tolbert, I believe, pitch running for the Royals, tries to steal second. Gets called safe, Mets challenge, and the call gets overturned. He had come off the bag. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. would still hit a home run 2 batters later, but it did change the context of that inning. It's those little things, those little momentum shifts that can really mess with your head in a close game. And so beyond this box score, what does this mean? For the Mets, obviously this is huge for morale. This is the kind of win that can spark a season. They're now 54-41. Still just a game behind the Phillies in the NL East, and holding strong in that wild card race. And with Senga back, they got Sean Manaea coming back, hopefully, knock on wood, that nothing happens to Sean Manaea. Let's all pray and hope that Sean Manaea is healthy for the remainder of the season. Sean Manaea is scheduled to come back Sunday. We're very happy to see Manaea back, finally. And with those 2 guys back in there, even, probably right now at like 80% of their normal selves, having them back in there is huge for their pitching depth. They no longer having to throw bullpen games, massive, and they could still be looking to acquire pitching depth here. The Mets are going to be active in the trade market this whole month. I have no doubt that David Stearns is going to be looking around and seeing what he can do to help improve this team, because they, with the talent that they have on here, and they have good talent, and I've been mightily impressed with what we've gotten from David Peterson and Clay Holmes and Kodai Senga this season. They need a little bit more help here because the Griffin Canning injury was devastating. and following that up with all the other injuries that they've had in the bullpen, in the back end of their rotation, they need some additional depth here. So getting a sixth starter in there would be monumental, and they're going to really need to see if they can build on this momentum, because this was a good turning point for them. They've had two great comeback wins this week, and putting aside the devastating doubleheader loss to the Orioles on Wednesday, or was it Thursday? I don't remember what day it was anymore. But putting that aside, it's going to be interesting to see if they can build on this momentum. And for the Royals, they just want to shake off that eighth inning, which is just a nightmare for them. That was just an ugly situation for the Royals, and honestly, I don't care, because I hate the Royals a lot. I still hold a lot of grudges, and my grudge is the 2015 Royals, who I still hate with a burning passion. I hated those mid 2010s Royals teams were absolutely terrible to play against. For context, they were very much similar to the present day Tampa Bay Rays, just stealing bases, coming up with singles, and just they were just very annoying to play against. So the Mets win last night was a declaration that even when things are ugly, even when their big slugger whiffs in a huge spot, they still have that fight. Vientos, Lindor, Soto, all delivered. Senga looked great. It could be a game that could very well turn their season around. Could also be just another Metsian anomaly in a season full of them, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's just, you never know. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind and see what we have to continue to hope for in this case, which is, let's hope that the Mets have kind of found their purpose here, which is to keep coming back, keep fighting. That is the most that they can do. Just keep fighting. Okay, so I previewed this in my intro, and we're going to do a New York baseball deep dive right now. And when I say deep dive, I mean we're going way down into the murky, often hilarious, occasionally infuriating waters of New York sports media. And specifically, we're talking about Juan Soto and Michael Kay. So let's set the stage first before we get into what happened this week, which is Michael Kay first, voice of the Yankees, guy who's been calling their games since 2002. This isn't just a job for him; it's basically his calling. He's a lifelong Yankees fan. Grew up as a Yankees fan. This is his dream come true. He's basically our Gary Cohen, or rather, yeah, you know what I mean. Like he is Yankees fans' Gary Cohen. This is a guy who just grew up rooting for the team, and now he gets to broadcast the games for them. Great for you, Michael Kay. Then you have Juan Soto, generational talent, signs a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets, crosstown rivals. The little brother, as some people, Michael Kay included, might playfully or not so playfully refer to them. So you've got this lifelong Yankee guy in a position of immense influence, and watching a former Yankee target, a potential modern-day Ruth and Gehrig partner for Aaron Judge, their Gehrig goes to the New York Mets. And the stage is set for something. My theory, based on years of watching all of this from afar, is that it's a very complex, not just simple personal animosity, but there's a lot of factors that go into this. And let's start with just Kay's style. He's the type of guy who is going to dissect every single syllable that an athlete utters. It's just the way that he does it. He wants honest answers. But then if the honest answer is a little too honest or tone deaf, as he might say, or doesn't fit his narrative of what should be said, he's going to rip you for that too. It's a Kobayashi Maru for athletes. If you're not a Star Trek fan, that means no-win scenario. So if you say something boring, he will criticize you for being boring. If you say something slightly controversial, he's going to go ballistic. It's a gold mine for radio. It's been around for years. Conflict drives ratings, or conflict drives clicks. However you want to define it, it's been going around for ages. And Michael Kay is a master of creating conflict. He will call himself a broadcaster and then turn around and say something that's very partisan, as in it makes your head spin. It's a beautiful in its hypocrisy. Mets commentators are probably no different, although I will say that the SNY broadcasters always maintain a level of professionalism that goes above that level of partisanship. So, the flashpoint this week, the moment that happened earlier this week, the 2025 All-Star Game snub for Juan Soto. And Soto's having a hell of a year. He's now hitting home runs left and right. OPS is over 900. MLB Player of the Month in June. Michael Kay himself says the very definition of an all-star. This was a terrible snub by Major League Baseball to leave Soto off of the NL All-Star roster. Besides the fact that they want stars on their team so that people are going to tune in, he's having a way better year than some of these guys. Fernando Tatis Jr., who I understand is one of like the faces of Major League Baseball, but not a guy who they should be like actively advertising. This is a guy who was down for PEDs, and he gets to be on the All-Star team. They have Corbin Carroll, who got off to an incredible start, and Carroll's still hitting home runs, but he has slowed down his production significantly. It's like everybody just stopped paying attention after June, or right when June started, right when Soto got hot, and was like, you know what, we're just going to go with what we got now. And they were filling out their ballots right then and there and saying, this is who we want to appear. And dramatically, Soto got red hot in June. He has continued that hot hitting in July, and looks like he should be on that roster. It is a massive snub. One of the worst snubs I've seen in the history of the All-Star Game. So, Soto gets asked about the snub, and initially he's diplomatic. He's giving all the right answers, boilerplate, standard athlete responses. And then he's pressed, do you personally want to be there? And Soto, bless his heart, is a guy who signed a $765 million contract, and he says, and I'm paraphrasing, it's a lot of money on the table if he makes it. When you're making $47 million this season, it doesn't look great. It looks bad. The optics, as Michael Kay would say, are terrible. And Michael Kay goes nuclear. He's like, tone deaf. Do you know how bad that looks? For Kay, it's not just the comment, it's the perceived lack of awareness, the tone deafness. He projects onto these athletes this idea of what a professional, high-earning athlete should say and do. He did this for years with A-Rod. And I'm going to say something that's kind of controversial, but I think it's very true. I think Juan Soto is very much this generation's A-Rod. I think he is super confident to the point of being cocky. I think he's a player that kind of rubs people and possibly even fellow athletes the wrong way. I mean, they released the player votes ballot, and notably absent Juan Soto. He was nowhere near that thing. It was pretty eye-opening that Soto was not getting anywhere near the votes of it. So I think Soto rubs people the wrong way, not dissimilar to how A-Rod rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. There's just I think people look at him as this kind of cocky, young kid who's just been, when you're doing what he's been doing for so many years and doing it as a young age, as a superstar, as like a 19-year-old superstar, and you lead your franchise to a World Series title as a teenager, it does make an impact on like your level of confidence. And he is just an otherworldly confident athlete. And since the contract earned, he now knows he is the number one highest paid player in baseball, and deserves to be, because he's an incredible generational talent, as we've said many, many times, and we will continue to say many, many times about Soto. So, this level of tone deafness Kay has dealt with in the past, and you're in his crosshairs if you deviate even a little bit from what Michael Kay thinks you should be saying. And he speculates other players that would be making $40 million a year would roll their eyes about that. They would say, he would question Soto's expenditures, any of this stuff, as if Juan Soto needs to justify his spending habits to Michael Kay. It's a classic Kay move. He sets a standard, whether it's realistic or not. and then he will crucify you for not meeting it. And there's nothing different from what Kay does that other commentators do, but it's the level of hypocrisy that I find very annoying. And here's the nuance, and this is important. Kay consistently, repeatedly, he does acknowledge Soto's talents, and Soto has immense talent, and Kay does call him, the very definition of an all-star. He cites his stats. He praised his June performance. His criticism is not about Juan Soto, the player. His criticism is about Soto, the public figure, the guy who made a comment that to Kay violates some kind of unwritten code of conduct for mega-rich athletes. It's about character, or at least public perception of character, and as much as it is about performance. And in New York, with the money involved, that public image is almost as scrutinized as your batting average, your home run totals, anything. So beyond the all-star stuff, there are also these other layers to the onion, which is, Soto leaving the Yankees for the Mets. Kay, as I said before, lifelong Yankee fan, has been pushing this narrative that Soto wanted to be a Yankee, and his family, wanted him to be a Met, and that's the way to kind of soothe the Yankees faithful, to say he didn't really choose them, he was forced to. And then he reports, Soto looks glum with the Mets. This, of course, is met with, a lot of ridicule from Met fans who had videos of Soto laughing and joking with teammates. Soto's very happy to be in this clubhouse. But it fuels this biased perception, right, that there's this, all these things kind of play into the whole overall picture. And then there's these Aaron Judge comments about Soto saying that he was being pitched differently without Judge behind him. And Kay, of course, interprets this as Soto, quote unquote, pining for your old girlfriend. Backhanded slap at Pete Alonso. It's about loyalty with Kay. And for Kay, leaving the Yankees and then seeming to lament about not having Aaron Judge, it's a double whammy. It's a betrayal of the Yankees to Kay and an insult to the Mets. And so he criticizes Soto about choosing to ignore, and there's the chance to play with Judge for 7 years. There are times that Kay does show little bursts of non-partisan broadcasting. Like he will call out Yankee fans for chanting, "fuck Juan Soto," which was frankly a good look for Kay. He called it little brother nonsense. He then turns around though, and then will call Met fans. Here's the things he's called them: gnats, simpletons, moronic, dumb, ill-informed. These are all things I would also characterize Yankees fans as, but okay. He actively participates in the rivalry. He weaponizes his platform. And so when a prominent Yankee voice critiques a high-profile Met, it's not just commentary. It's inherently charged. It is perceived as bias because it is bias. It's perceived as animosity because it is animus. Because in New York, that's just how the game is played. It's like the media version of a beanball war. This is just... it's ridiculous. I find it very irritating that commentators play into it, and I would prefer impartiality in a world where clicks and ratings drive this stuff. I understand that Kay is just kind of playing his part. At the same time, I really despise it. I find it very irritating. So does Michael Kay actually hate Juan Soto? I don't think so. Not in the way that you hate a person who cut you off in traffic or the guy who stole your parking spot. It's more complicated. It's Michael Kay, this lifelong Yankees fan and broadcaster, scrutinizing a highly paid athlete for these perceived public relations missteps, for not showing what Kay would deem sufficient loyalty. And all of it's amplified by this white-hot intensity of this Mets-Yankees rivalry. He will praise Soto's talent. He will acknowledge legitimate gripes. But then he will absolutely torch him for any kind of clumsy comments. Another Alex Rodriguez trait of the very clumsy public comments where you could kind of tell what A-Rod was trying to say, but didn't have the public relations wherewithal and where how to say it, because he's just that kind of guy. So it's about optics. It's about the business of sports media, where again controversy will drive clicks and listens. It's a performance, a very carefully crafted outrage that will resonate with a segment of the fan base and infuriate another fan base, my fan base. ultimately, it's just a fascinating case study in this kind of sort of intersection of sports commentary and player persona and fan perception in what is just the most demanding sports market in the world. And honestly, it's why we love New York baseball. It's messy, it's loud, but it's never ever boring. That'll do it for me. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and enjoy what I hope will be some fairly decent weather this weekend if you're in New York. And stay cool, stay happy, continue to be a Met fan, and let's enjoy this last series before the All-Star break. And I know we're all going to enjoy watching the Mets, including recently announced David Peterson. Congratulations, David Peterson, on making the All-Star team, along with Alonso and Lindor. We are going to cheer you on very happily, and we're all going to enjoy watching Mets fans be represented by our superstar athletes. Thank you very much for listening, and take care. Thank you for listening to Mike's Mets Podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like and a comment. It helps so much. Finally, please follow our Twitter and Blue Sky pages. You can find us at Twitter at Mike's Mets Pod, all one word, and on Blue Sky at Mike's Mets Podcast.bsky.social. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day or evening, and let's go Mets.